Okay, space detectives, this is Joe from Art Alien TV. I have 3 Mars UFOs to show you today. I have many more, but these are 3 of my favourites I found recently. I've got a whole massive folder full of these. Most of them are just little specks in the distance, but occasionally, every so many months, probably every 6 months or once or twice a year, they come close to the rover, okay? Now, I would say that these appear every few days near the rover, but they're not close enough in the actual pictures to show you in any detail. They just look like white or black blobs or specks in the sky. But sometimes they come down below the horizon and come down quite low, okay? And this is crazy, right? Because one of these, I think, is the same object shown on different days. Like I've shown before, we have the same objects appearing year after year or month after month. And occasionally they get fairly close to the rover, like this one, and this one. Now the first one is Sol 2565 left Navcam, and it's in dark mode, so it's black. Here it is, just here, in dark mode. Now this one is Sol 2950 left Navcam, and I think it's the same object, right? But it's in light mode or bright mode. But it's the same shape and has the same details and it looks around the same kind of height and size and distance, roughly, okay? Now I'll show you these in greater detail in a second. And then we have this one. This is 3574. This is much later, and I don't think it's the same one. It's similar in size and distance from the rover. It may be, but it looks much more rectangular and angular than these first 2. So what I've done is I've got these 3 in folders. Now, what I will do with these 3 images is I'll put them on a Gigapan, all 3 of them, together with clips and close-ups and negatives and all that kind of thing. So if you check out the description below, not only will there be links to these images here, but there'll also be a main link to the Gigapan near the top of the description, which will show you all of these, and you can zoom in yourself and have a closer look, okay? These are genuine NASA images from the Curiosity rover. They are timestamped, dated, and on the official website, as you can see, okay? This is not something I put together, as some people might have suggested in the past. This is the Mars Exploration official NASA site, and there are hundreds of images like this from the Navcam, left or right. Sometimes they appear in the other camera images as well, but these are the better ones because they're quite high contrast. So anything that flies past or in front of these cameras will show up. Whether it's in dark mode or bright mode, it will show up quite well, okay? We're not going to see a lot of detail, but there's enough detail to determine that these, at least 2 of these, are the same thing. Right, so let's look at this one first. This is 2565, right? Left Navcam. It's getting close. And you can see what looks a bit like a kind of delta wing or slightly ovoid sort of wing shape here. I think this is the body, like the wing part. And the front of it, I think, is this spiky bit sticking out to the right here. But there's also a little spiky bit sticking out underneath, right? Which you can actually see in the original clip here. This is completely raw, this part. This has been turned negative, colorized and turned negative. And you can see this point sticking out at the bottom. Now, pay close attention to the shape, right? And this one, I think, is the same object from Sol 2950. So that's a whole 400 plus, around 400 days later, which is a whole, over a year on Earth, but less than, well, it's about half a year on Mars, okay? Their years are twice as long as ours, right? So here it is again. And we have the same thing sticking out on the right, but this time it's more angled here. And this time that spiky bit is on top. So I think this is the same object as that one, right? Let's put them together. And I'll flip one to negative. We'll compare the negative. Now, these are both negatives. So I'll flip that one to negative like that. And we can see, I've tried to clip them the same size as well, that is probably the same object because we have a spike at the top, spike at the bottom. It's flipped up the other way, right? But this part sticking out to the right is almost identical to that. We have a straight part sticking out with an angled bit. The angle's slightly different. The distance is almost the same, and I think it's the same object, just flipped up the other way. Instead of the spike being at the bottom like we have here, it's at the top. You can just see a spike there. If I go back to that and then flip this one to negative, you can see how similar they are, right? They're the same shape and the same size and about the same distance, right? Give or take 50 yards or something, I don't know exactly, right? Same object. You can see the spike there at the bottom and one here at the top. So it's literally flipped up the other way. So we're seeing it from a slightly different angle, but it's the same object. Let's go back to the normal image there and then flip that one back to negative. There we are. Same thing. Now, if this was just a glitch in the camera, which it isn't, but if it was a glitch or a data dropouts appear as a black rectangle normally. We get them quite a lot. Where the images, when they were transferred, some of the information was lost in transfer from the satellite to Earth or from the rover to the satellite. Somewhere in between may have been some interference and some of the data is dropped out, okay? And they usually appear as a rectangle or square-ish kind of black thing in the image. Okay, so those I think are the same object. Now let's go to this one. Now this one may be the same object, but it's taken much, much later. Okay, from this one, we go from 2950 to 3574, so that's a lot. That's like 600, almost 600 days. That's almost a Mars year later, right? It's quite a lot. But it's also the same sort of size, same sort of distance, but it's much more square. And to me, this one, let's go larger. If you look at the negative here, you can see that it's got a straight bit sticking out the other way. It's going this way, probably. It's travelling from left to right, perhaps. But the wider part on the bottom says to me that that's a wing that's closer to us, and this top part here, which is narrower, is also a wing, but is further away, so that is facing away from us. So it's at a slight angle, and we have a wing, a left and a right wing, okay? So we've got a wing at the top and a wing at the bottom, but we're seeing it from an angle. This, I think, is the tail. This is a wing facing away. There's a little point there, and this is another wing here. But the reason why this one is wider is because it's coming towards us and this one is going away from us. So it seems to be traveling in this direction, right? That's what we've got. Now, if you look at the actual image itself, it's not very big, but you can see a slight point just there. And we've got a straight tail, and we've got a wider part and a narrower part there, which look like wings. So I don't think this is the same one, but it might be. Whereas these seem to be much more like a delta wing. In other words, we have what could be the tail here, or maybe the actual nose here. And this is more ovoid, but with a spike here, like that. And this one is almost the same, but we have the spike at the top, and it's more ovoid with that part angled like that, okay? So that's the same thing. It's just up the other way. Whereas this one is much straighter and more angular and doesn't have the sort of delta shape wing configuration or body to it, whatever it is. Okay? So we've got 3 different UFOs. Well, we've got 3 UFOs, but 2 of them are the same object as taken on different days. In fact, quite a long time apart, but that these do show every few days. I'm just showing you these ones because they were closer. If you go through the Navcam left and right images on the Curiosity rover page, like I've got up here, and just if you go to the main page like this, I'll show you how to do that. Right, Curiosity rover, there's the shortcut, there's the main page. If you click on it's on Mastcam now, I go through these every day, right? Click left and right Navcam, and then you just start at the top and then keep flicking through until you find them. And sometimes it'll take you a whole day, sometimes you'll find 3 in a matter of minutes, all on the same day. Okay? So you just got to keep flicking through these until you see a blob, either a white or black blob in the sky. Sometimes they're below the horizon, right? And sometimes they're above it. Not just Curiosity, but the new rover Perseverance also takes countless hundreds and hundreds or thousands of images of the skyline like we have here, right? In fact, I'll show you the main page to prove what I'm saying, right? This is Perseverance rover page, right? Countless images of the skyline, right? Look at all these. Now, why would they take countless images of the same spot of sky with the horizon over and over again every single day? And both rovers do this, as we can see here. Now, this rover tends to take a few and then move the camera, and then a few more and then move the camera. So you get like 3 of one spot and then 3 of another and then 3 of another. But often it would take dozens of the same spot, right? When you flick through these, like this, you get loads of the same area. You got the skyline here, this is part of Mount Sharp here. And it would just take loads of the same spot. And often you'll see a white blob, which is kind of potato shaped in these, which usually appears over here, which is Phobos, okay? But you can tell it's Phobos because it's kind of potato shaped and it's very small, right? It doesn't have any spikes sticking out. It's not cross-shaped. It doesn't have wings. It's kind of ovoid. It's an irregular ovoid shape, but it doesn't have spikes or protuberances or tails or whatever coming out of them, right? But that does appear quite often, but it appears as a little tiny white blob on the horizon, and there aren't any here. But this is a typical kind of set you get, okay? And all you have to do is select the nav right and nav left cameras, like I've done here, and then just go page by page and flick through the whole lot, and you will find UFOs. They appear every few days, but occasionally they're closer and clearer, like we have today. 2565, 2950, and 3574. Nav left, and nav right, okay? So that's how easy it is to find them. But it takes hours and hours and hours. In fact, I did spend about 3 weeks doing this. And I exhausted myself and made myself a bit ill doing it, right? I just wore myself out and was having terrible problems with my eyes and everything. You can really do yourself in doing this searching, especially when you're flicking through stuff. It can cause a type of epilepsy with certain people. So I don't recommend you do it for more than about 20 minutes at a time, because it will do you in, okay? It's not healthy, because you get a kind of flash on the screen when you flick between them, right? So be careful. But as you can see here, the Perseverance is also taking countless images of the skyline. I haven't found any in these yet, but I haven't really looked through all these yet. I've looked through most of the Curiosity ones, like hundreds of thousands of images, but I haven't really gone through all these yet but I'm sure there probably are UFOs in these Perseverance Navcam images as well. They're slightly better quality, I would say, quite a lot better than the Curiosity ones, but for some reason there's less activity in Jezero crater and there's a lot more going on in Gale crater where Curiosity rover is, okay? Now, I'm just going to show you the folders I've got here and flick through some of these because I've got some different edits of each one. Right, this is the first one. This is 2565. I'll start with the screenshot. There it is. You can see it quite clearly there. It just appears like a black blob, but if you zoom in, it's got detail. It's got parts sticking out. All right. So I'll just flick through these edits I've got for you. There's the original image, not very large. These are about 1,000 pixels wide, just over. They're not terrible, but they're not compressed much. That's the main thing with these. And what I do is blur them very, very slightly, like 0.5, just to depixelate them, and then enlarge them so that they fit in the viewer like this. Okay, that's all I do, really. And then I take close-ups, do another clip. There's a close-up. You can see the detail there of these parts sticking out, right? It's all there. There's a negative. There's a colorized one. There's a clip showing the horizon. Lower slopes of Mount Sharp here, right? This light bit in the background, that's Mount Sharp. There's another clip there. There's another view showing more of Mount Sharp, right? Closer again. You can see those details. If you get too close, this will not make any sense. You've got to clip these about that sort of distance from the edge. Otherwise, you won't see any detail. If you zoom in too far, you don't see any more, right? Okay, so there we are. There's that one. Here's the meme I've just done. And you can see in negative that this is quite narrow, this point here. And there's a little one there, right? So that's that. So that's 2565. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one, which is the same object on a different day. I will start with the actual clip to prove that it's on the page. There it is. This is taken on a more of a sort of square format. Often the camera will take like a letterbox shape. This one's more of a full image, and you can see that pretty well in the raw image up near the top there. And there's part of the rover there. Okay, so you know there's good scale on these, and they're all roughly. They only appear in detail when they get to this distance, and it's not that far away, I would say. And all of the ones I've spotted, mostly the lower altitude ones like we have here, I would say are all about approximately the same size, about 8, somewhere between 5 and 20 feet in size. I think they're about 8. I could be wrong. They could be 5, they could be 15, but I think they're around 8 or 9 feet across. So they're drones, probably. Okay. There's in this set, there's another image with another one. Okay, but this one's in dark mode, right? So if we go back, let's go back to this one. There's another one. Here, I think this is the same object. Right, this is the same set of images, same day, but here is the same object below the horizon, so it's not a star. There's the horizon there. There's the same object, but from a different angle, right? The camera's moved around. And there it is again. Just there, right? So we got it here, here, and here. In 2 of them it's in light mode, and 1 of them is in dark mode. I think it's the same object. They change from light to dark. I don't know why. Maybe a directional change thing. I don't know. But this is common with these sets of images. You will often get the same object appearing 2 or 3 times in the different images, taken about 20 seconds apart, or less than a minute apart usually. But it would go from light to dark and dark to light. And it would go further away and then closer, right? That happens all the time. here it is again in light mode. Now, I thought this was, now often Phobos appears above this mountain from this sort of angle. But when you look at this one, this isn't Phobos because it's cross-shaped. We have spiky parts like a cross there, right? So that's not Phobos. Here's a closer clip of it. You can see it's a cross shape. So this may also be the same object further away from a funny angle. Who knows? So in this set, we have multiple UFOs, some of which are the same one, this one, but from different angles and distance. Right? Look at the detail there. You can just about see that spike there. And here it is closer. You can see those details quite clearly. It's not that far away because we have fairly sharp edges. If it was further away, that would be much more blurred. And it's definitely not Phobos. Okay, there's the meme. Right, so that's that one. And then the third folder, I'll quickly go through these, same routine. Let's go full screen and then flick through. There's the actual page clip, just to prove that it's there. Okay, 3574. There's the actual image, enlarged, zoomed. This is different to the others, I would say. It's much more angular. It's not that kind of ovoid shape. You can actually see it's kind of like more of a like rectangle shaped wings, really. Here we are. There it is in context. Lower slopes of Mount Sharp again, so they're all in the same area, right? That's the actual mountain up there in the background. This is one of the mounds in front of it. These strange butte-type mounds. Some of these have got structures on them and inside them, and some of them have windows and skylights. Some of them actually have entrances with steps. I've shown them all before. So there's a lot going on here in Gale crater especially. It's deep down. It's at the very base, it's 4,700 meters below the surface. And Mount Sharp actually sticks up about 5 kilometers. Right, so it sticks up above the crater. And there we are. So, crazy stuff. 3 UFOs, very similar in size, all around that 8 or 10 feet in size, I would say. I could be wrong, but it's very hard to tell the distance with these. Let's look at that one. Who's to say how far away that is, right? If it was below this ridge here, I could give you an exact size because I know how far this is away, but it's not. It's above this one, I would say. So I'd say this is quite small. This is probably less than 5 feet, this one. So I think this is like one of those little hawk drones that the military use. These little mini ones that they use for spying. So this may be really small. It may only be a foot across or 2. But I'm guessing this isn't very close. It looks close, but it's not. This ridge here isn't that close. It's about 100 yards away, and that looks like it's just above it. So yeah, this thing isn't that big. It's at least a few feet across, this one. I don't think it's the same as the others. These are bigger and different in shape. So there we are. We have 3 UFOs. 2 of them are the same. And as I've shown before, I've shown in some of my other videos, if you go back about a month or a couple of months on my channel, I did a whole series of UFO videos, and I also showed that some of them were the same object appearing on different days. And some of them are quite up close, and they've got some crazy detail on them. Okay, so check out my recent videos. I'll put clips of these in at the end in a second. Thanks for watching. Check out the links below. There will be a Gigapan with all these on, and you can zoom in and have a look yourself and compare them. You can take your own clips. There'll be all the links you need. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I know about 30-40% of you are not subscribed, so please click that button. Thanks for watching. Clips coming up now.